Imagine sitting in a chair where every time the phone rings, someone's life is literally hanging by a thread. There's no room for hesitation, no room for panic. For Jordan Turner, an elite operator at the Los Angeles 911 call center, handling absolute chaos is just another day at the office. But even seasoned veterans have a breaking point. We open on a chillingly quiet night that shatters the moment a frantic call comes through. A young girl is home alone, whispering through the receiver. Someone is breaking into her house. Jordan's training kicks in immediately. She guides the terrified girl to hide, keeping her voice steady, an anchor in the dark. But then the unthinkable happens. The call disconnects. In a split-second decision fueled by pure adrenaline, Jordan makes a critical error. She dials the number back. The ringtone echoes through the silent house, giving away the girl's hiding spot. The line connects, but it's not the girl who answers. It's a cold, emotionless voice, uttering a chilling phrase. It's already done. Jordan is left sitting in absolute silence, the weight of that failure crushing down on her. 6 months pass. But in Jordan's mind, it might as well have been yesterday. She can no longer handle the front lines. The emotional toll of that single mistake has forced her into a training role. She now walks the floor of the Hive, the colossal high-tech nerve center of the city's emergency response. She leads a group of wide-eyed recruits through the maze of ringing phones and glowing monitors. She explains the harsh reality of their job. They are the first responders, but they never get to see the resolution. They only hear the panic, the tears, and the terror. They can never promise a caller that everything will be okay. It's a beautifully constructed scene that shows how isolating this job can be. Jordan is surrounded by dozens of people, yet completely alone in her trauma. She looks at the active operators with a mix of longing and deep-seated fear. The Hive hums with the energy of 1,000 emergencies, waiting for the next disaster to strike. Miles away from the sterile environment of the Hive, the movie completely shifts its visual tone. We are introduced to Casey Wilson, a typical teenager spending a bright, sun-drenched afternoon at a shopping mall. The contrast is deliberate and unsettling. We know the darkness is coming, but the characters don't. After parting ways with her friend, Casey heads down into the sprawling concrete labyrinth of the mall's underground parking garage. The shadows lengthen. The ambient noise of the mall fades away, replaced by the hollow echo of her footsteps. As she reaches her car, a figure emerges from the periphery. It happens with terrifying speed. There is no grand villainous monologue, just a sudden, violent struggle. Casey is overpowered by an assailant whose face remains unnervingly calm. And in one swift motion, she is forced into the trunk of his vehicle. The heavy lid slams shut, extinguishing the daylight. The screen plunges into absolute, claustrophobic darkness. The nightmare has officially begun. Inside the cramped, suffocating space of the trunk, Casey is hyperventilating. Through pure luck, she realizes her friend's burner phone is in her pocket. A phone with no GPS chip, making it impossible to track precisely. She dials 911. The call lands on the desk of a rookie operator in the Hive. As Casey's hysterical screams fill the headset, the rookie freezes, entirely overwhelmed by the sheer terror on the line. Jordan, observing from a few feet away, sees the panic setting in. Knowing she can't let history repeat itself, Jordan unplugs the rookie's headset, plugs her own in, and takes over the call. The moment Jordan's voice comes through, the atmosphere in the trunk shifts. Jordan commands the space. She forces Casey to stop crying, to breathe, and to focus. She anchors the terrified teenager to reality. They establish a desperate lifeline. Jordan realizes she is completely blind. She has a moving target, an untraceable phone, and a predator who is expertly navigating the labyrinth of the city's freeways. The clock is relentlessly ticking. With the police struggling to triangulate the moving signal, Jordan has to get creative. She begins to coach Casey through a series of high-stakes survival maneuvers right under the assailant's nose. First, Jordan instructs Casey to feel around for the wiring of the car's taillight. We are right there in the trunk with Casey, feeling the claustrophobia as she twists her body, her sneakers violently kicking against the plastic casing. With a final desperate strike, the plastic shatters. A small hole of daylight breaks through the darkness. Jordan tells her to stick her hand out and wave wildly. It's an incredibly tense sequence. We see the car speeding down a busy highway, perfectly blending in with traffic, while a single frantic hand waves from the broken taillight. Cars pass by. Drivers are distracted. The tension is agonizing as we wait for just one person to notice. Finally, a motorist spots the hand. But before they can intervene, the kidnapper notices the draft in the car, realizes what Casey has done, and violently corrects the situation, leaving Casey back at square one. The tension in this film is relentless, and we're just getting to the craziest part. If you're hooked on this breakdown, take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps push these deep dives into the algorithm. Also, let me know in the comments, what would be your first move if you found yourself trapped in the trunk of a moving car? Let's get back to the chase. Casey is losing hope, but Jordan refuses to let her give up. Searching the trunk again, Casey finds several cans of white paint. Jordan formulates a brilliant plan. Pour the paint out of the broken taillight hole to create a literal breadcrumb trail on the asphalt for the police to follow. We watch the white liquid spill onto the highway, a glowing beacon of hope. But the plan backfires in the most terrifying way. A nearby driver notices the leaking fluid, pulls up alongside the kidnapper, and tries to be a good Samaritan by alerting him to the leak. The kidnapper, realizing his captive is fighting back, pulls over. He knocks the bystander out cold and stuffs him into the trunk, right alongside Casey. The dynamic changes completely. Casey is now trapped in a pitch-black box with an unconscious man and a kidnapper who is now highly agitated and unpredictable. Back on the road, the unimaginable happens. The bystander wakes up. Disoriented in the pitch black, he begins to panic and scream for help. Casey begs him to stay quiet, but it's too late. The kidnapper hears the commotion over the noise of the highway. He pulls the car over to the side of the road. The trunk pops open, and in a swift, brutal confrontation to silence the noise, the bystander meets a grim fate. Jordan hears the entire struggle through the phone. The screams, the violent scuffle, and then the chilling, sudden silence. The situation spirals further out of control when the kidnapper is forced to pull into an isolated gas station. An invigorated Casey realizes she can pry open a gap into the car's interior through the middle back seat. She pushes her hand through and catches the attention of the gas station attendant. The attendant realizes something is wrong and approaches the vehicle to investigate. This is where the kidnapper's calm facade shatters entirely. To protect his secret, he escalates the violence to an extreme level. In a horrifying turn of events, he douses the attendant and the surrounding pumps in fuel, setting the scene ablaze to destroy the evidence and create a massive distraction. Jordan is forced to listen to the agonizing sounds of the confrontation through her headset. Back at the hive, the police finally catch a break. Investigators scouring the isolated parking lot where the bystander was initially overpowered discover a crucial piece of evidence left behind in the dirt. Following this thread, through a frantic search of databases, they are finally able to put a name to the phantom driver, Michael Foster. The film pulls back the curtain on Foster, and the reality is deeply unsettling. He isn't a shadowy monster living in an alley. He is a seemingly normal family man. But as the police dig deeper into his history, they uncover a deeply disturbed individual with a specific, twisted obsession rooted in a personal loss. He isn't holding Casey for ransom. He has a much darker psychological motive involving a hidden room on an inherited property and a macabre collection. Jordan realizes that if Foster gets Casey to his destination, she won't just disappear. She will be permanently erased. The car finally comes to a halt at its destination, an isolated, seemingly abandoned rural property. Foster pulls Casey from the trunk, preparing to transfer her into his hidden underground space. But during the commotion, the worst-case scenario unfolds. Foster discovers the burner phone hidden in Casey's pocket. He picks it up and brings it to his ear. For the first time, Jordan is no longer a passive listener. She is speaking directly to the adversary. Knowing this is her absolute last chance, Jordan tries to assert control, warning him that the police know exactly who he is and that it's over. But Foster remains eerily calm. Staring into the dark, he replies with the exact same chilling phrase that has haunted Jordan for the last 6 months. It's already done. He terminates the call. The ultimate lifeline is permanently severed. The line goes dead. They lose the trail. But Jordan refuses to accept another failure. Frustrated by the system's limitations, she takes matters into her own hands. She leaves the safety of the hive and drives out to the rural area where the call was last pinged. The final act transforms into a pure, terrifying survival thriller. Jordan arrives at an abandoned, desolate property. The silence is incredibly heavy. Every footstep she takes echoes like a gunshot. She discovers a hidden trapdoor concealed beneath the earth. She climbs down a ladder into pitch darkness, transitioning from a voice on a phone to a physical protector descending into the adversary's lair. Deep underground, Jordan locates Casey strapped to a medical table. Foster is confronted not by the police, but by the very woman whose voice has been haunting him all day. A brutal, desperate physical altercation ensues. It's raw, messy, and stripped of all the high-tech gloss from the beginning of the movie. Working together, Jordan and Casey manage to overpower Foster. But here is where the movie delivers its final, chilling twist. Instead of dragging Foster up to the surface and calling for backup, they look at the monster lying on the floor of his own dungeon. They make a profound, dark choice. They chain him to a chair, turn their backs, and walk out. And they lock the heavy steel door behind them, leaving him completely trapped in the suffocating darkness he created.